podcast, which was crazy. So we're glad we got to talk about it. But initially, the reason why we wanted to come together on this Wednesday is obviously we know the situation that happened with Empire actor Jussie Smollet yesterday, or early, what's today? Wednesday. So early Monday evening, early Tuesday morning, going into a subway at 2 a.m., being jumped, assaulted, brutally beaten, allegedly by two white men screaming MAGA. We initially reported yesterday, gave our opinion on the situation, very upset, very outraged of the reports of the situation. But the longer we go by and as we drop the videos and we hear the people in the street talking, it's a lot of people out here talking about the story doesn't add up. The story doesn't make sense. Him being at a subway at 2 a.m. when subway was open, mass coming to jump him and beat him up. We've seen a couple pictures, and it doesn't really seem like he's messed up, even though he's been reported to have broken ribs. This is what's going on. This isn't what I'm saying personally. This is what everybody's allegedly saying right now after the event.
Right.
As of right now, no police have found any surveillance footage putting any men to that situation. Now, they do have a person of interest. That came around probably about an hour ago. They have a couple people in interest in regards to it, but there's no physical evidence, no cameras to show anything happening. So I just wanted to get your opinion, oh God. Now that the story's out, now that we heard everything that's going on, and we hear the outrage that's being poured out, is there a little more to this story than meets the eye?
Well, I seen it first, when I posted it on Uncensored Truth. I started watching the the comments and people saying things weren't adding up. And I began to immediately think let me just, because I always like to try to look at all angles. I don't try to get, closed into a box. And, even people close to me started, saying it like, oh yeah, this is that and that. And, the whole MAGA situation. And then I see the reports, like you say, that, the police are now reviewing surveillance. They can't find anybody. They see him, but they can't find anybody. And, the injuries are maybe not consistent with, being, attacked like that. It's a lot of different things, where people are saying, like you said, now they have a person of interest. But one thing I will say is that I wouldn't put it past, anybody to do this. We know that the media is powerful, and that if you can exacerbate the tensions between groups of people by, causing an incident, it's going to happen. You're going to have people going at each other, and you want to control the masses. That's something that has been done, I believe, that they do that with the media, create different events and watch people react a certain way, to push a certain agenda through. So, I don't know. And I always thought, and a lot of people, what's really getting me is the people on the ground in Chicago was just like, nah, they ain't go down there. Like, nah, it was no white dudes in that area. It doesn't sound right. And I'm reading the comments. And anytime you start seeing the consensus, you have to start to at least lend your thought to that. Like, oh, okay, maybe they might have some truth to that. So, I don't know. It's a lot, man. But like I said, I would not put this past whoever who would concoct something like this to do for whatever reason. I don't know, but I would not put it past them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, indeed, man. We the type of podcast that likes to just look at the 360-degree spectrum of everything. And although we heard the story, we don't like to just get so crazy and so caught up in the story that we can't look at every fact. So when, like you said, when you dropped it on the Uncensored Truth yesterday and we started looking at the comments and you start seeing people in the general, just the talking of what's going on involved in the situation, there's a lot of skepticism involving the situation. So I started looking more into it. Dude lives in Chicago. He has a apartment in the north side of Chicago, Streeterville, I believe. Streeterville. It's called the Streeterville neighborhood in Chicago, on the north side of Chicago. Started looking up different things, racism in north side of Chicago, what goes on out there. And it is a high percentage of segregation in Chicago between the north side and the south side of Chicago, especially when you hear about a lot of the violence involving the south side of Chicago. We all heard the unfortunate situations out there for years and the gun violence and things like that. When it comes to the north side of Chicago, they see any black people out there, they kind of, they really don't play that shit. There's a lot of tension going on. I've read various reports, even dating back from 2015, 2016, in regards to the tensions involving Chicago between the north and south side. Now, we're not from Chicago. I've never been to Chicago. I know a lot of people from Chicago. I love the city. I love the culture. But for me to sit here and act like this does go on in Chicago or doesn't would be ignorant for me to say, because I've never been there. So when I look up research and I look up things and editorials from various people and various issues, there is a little bit of racial tension in Chicago, in particular between the North and the South Side, being as though it's a little segregated. You got your upper class, and then you got your cities in Chicago where you deal with your situation. So it's not too far outside of the realm of speculation for this situation to happen in the location that he was in. Now, whether or not that subway was open at 2 a.m., why he was rolling around by himself. Now, obviously, I just said he lived there, so that kind of adds up too. We just got to look at it 360 degrees, man. We can't jump to conclusions and think automatically that this was staged, but we can't think, based off of the evidence we got now, that it went down exactly how everybody was saying.
Right, and then they also, the newest development here, according to this article, they say police say they'll be releasing pictures of the person of interest very soon. So we'll see how that goes. As far, I mean, it could have been, hundreds of people, in a city like Chicago. I think it's like the third biggest city in the U.S. that walked through. So crazy, man. But still, with all that being said, it still will have to be something that was highly planned. I just don't see it happen randomly. You know what I mean? Anywhere. I mean, you could be in, Tinseltown. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just don't see it. But you never know, man. I mean, I always tell you about a book I got called Sundown Towns. And when I said that in the podcast, people was like, yo, it's sundown town now. I'm like, really? And I get it. It's some areas that if you're a brother, you don't want to be caught at night. You just don't. And there are some areas like that. Now, will you be killed? Maybe by the police if you make the wrong move. If he's, but I'm talking about the police. Civilians, I don't know, but it's America, man. This is America, man. That's all I can say.
Indeed. I know one thing that's kind of jumping out in my head is Chicago. It's a ton of fucking cameras in Chicago. You can't walk around and do anything nowadays without being seen, without being reported. Now, we got people of interest, but there is no video evidence of this situation happening. Now, like you said, for there to be an elaborate plan to make this shit up to divide races and cause racial tension, that would have to be some kind of elaborate plan. And goddamn, you cynical motherfuckers for doing something like that if this really was a plan. Now, the FBI has notes from different people that just don't like this dude. Don't like the dude because of his sexual orientation. Don't like him because he's black and he's of his sexual orientation and happens to live in the area. There's been numerous threats and reports on this guy's well-being that the FBI is also looking into. And now it kind of coincides with the story that we hear. The fact that we have no camera coverage, but everything seems to be lining up. Like I said, we just got to look at it from a 360-degree angle. Does this stuff happen in America still? Absolutely. We're not used to hearing about it in Chicago, but talk to some brothers and sisters out in Mississippi, Alabama, down there in the southern states, some deep parts of Florida, and I'm sure this story isn't nothing surprising to them. So we just got to see what happens, man. Like I said yesterday on the podcast, you can save me with that victim shit. We got to stop with that. Like, let's not make this a whole victim situation and put a blanket over him and just let this go by. That can't happen. That can't happen at all.
Yeah, no, I think a good person, Kansu, when he's up back on his feet, he'll probably give us some good perspective on that in a few days. But yeah, man, that's definitely a situation that we'll continue to monitor. That's interesting. I'm like, damn, everybody thinking now that this is set up after we're going to do that commentary on this.
Yeah, we did 10 minutes of commentary, put our heart in it. You know what I mean? Felt like we did due diligence, and we like, yo, this shit fake story. Whack. I'm like, damn.
Right. Yeah, but it is what it is, man. It comes with the territory. But definitely, man, Uncensored Truth Podcast. Anybody listening, man, hit the like button, and make sure that y'all share this video if y'all going to watch this later on. I know you had...